This news update focused on a violent confrontation involving the Biafran Liberation Army under the command of Igwe Butuzor, battling rival groups linked to Nigerian army. They, Biafra Liberation Army, declare that there is no peace in Nigeria and calls for Biafra's independence, emphasizing that they take orders only from their own leadership and not from any Mr. Man. The conflict appears to center on the Isseke area of Anambra State, which a critic describes as a key battlefield where nearby villages have reportedly been affected by intense fighting. The phrase, "Men are good to go," is repeated many times as a rallying cry, suggesting that fighters are prepared and committed to battle. Kenny, a key figure in the Biafra movement, references divine or spiritual guidance, repeatedly invoking Lord of the Lord, and encourages Biafrans to pay attention to his message. Kenny delivers a monologue expressing emotional distress and denies any wrongdoing, stating that his role was unplanned and that he was only acting in service of the Prime Minister of Biafra, Simon Ekpa. He emphasizes that false accusations and betrayal have damaged both his reputation and the broader Biafran struggle, leading to disillusionment and division among supporters. Kenny claims that external enemies are killing Biafrans daily, but instead of blaming foreign powers, he urges self-responsibility and warns against internal sabotage of the movement. He says the fight is spiritual as well as physical, and that those who undermine the Biafran cause are damaging decades of work and sacrifice. Concluding emotionally, Kenny says that attacking him is equivalent to attacking Biafra itself, affirming his deep commitment to the cause and his efforts to represent Biafra even on international platforms like Washington, D.C. in the United States of America. The story of the recent confrontation in Isseke, a community located in Anambra State in the southeastern part of Nigeria, reveals the depth of the crisis surrounding the struggle for Biafra's independence. This conflict was not just a clash of weapons, it was a clash of ideologies, of loyalties, of pain, and of historical grievances that have not healed for decades. This is not simply about gunfire echoing through villages. This is about an identity war that has grown louder with every ignored plea, every bullet fired, and every man who falls to the ground defending what he believes is his rightful homeland. The Biafran Liberation Army, which has declared itself a military wing fighting for the liberation of the Biafran people, has grown more active and aggressive in recent times. The group operates under its own command structure and leadership, and in this latest development, they were under the command of a man named Igwe Butuzor. His name has become more familiar recently as he emerged as one of the key figures coordinating these paramilitary operations against forces they consider enemies to Biafra's cause. The Nigerian military, on the other side of the battle line, represents the authority of the Nigerian government, which does not recognize any Biafran separatist entity as legitimate. Isseke, a small but now highly significant town in the southeastern region of Nigeria, became the stage for what many are describing as a violent and devastating battle. Reports suggest that the area witnessed heavy exchange of gunfire, resulting in a situation so intense that nearby villages were either evacuated or became scenes of widespread fear and confusion. The phrase, "Isseke has fallen," which has echoed across social media and in underground communication channels, shows the symbolic and strategic importance of the town in this conflict. According to voices from within the Biafran Liberation Army, this battle was not just a reaction to immediate threats, but a statement, a message directed not only at the Nigerian authorities, but also at the people of Biafra, both at home and in the diaspora. Fighters kept chanting, "Men are good to go," a phrase that became a sort of spiritual and motivational war cry, repeated again and again. It is a way of declaring readiness, of showing that no matter how much pressure is applied, they are not backing down. One of the most emotionally gripping parts of this story does not come from the battlefield itself, but from the words of a man named Kenny. He is a visible figure in the broader Biafran struggle, and his statements during and after the battle reflect a level of pain, frustration, and spiritual burden that often goes unnoticed in stories about war and rebellion. Kenny did not speak in polished political language. He spoke with tears in his voice. He spoke like a man who has lost friends, trust, and perhaps even some part of himself in this movement. In his monologue, Kenny expressed how deeply hurt he was by what he described as false accusations and betrayal. He insisted that his actions were not born out of personal ambition, but were instead motivated by duty. He claimed that he never saw himself as a leader or as someone to take center stage. According to him, he was pulled into the spotlight by circumstances beyond his control, especially as he began working closely with Seaman Ekpa, who is widely known as the Prime Minister of Biafra in exile and has been operating from locations outside Nigeria, particularly in Finland. Kenny said that if anyone had told him a year ago that he would be acting in such a role, representing Biafra in both spiritual and political platforms, he would have laughed it off. But now, in the thick of the crisis, he has found himself not just defending Biafra on the ground, but also defending himself against what he called vicious internal politics. These are not fights with soldiers or weapons. These are emotional, psychological battles within the ranks, battles that damage reputations, break trust, and sometimes divide people who once stood shoulder to shoulder. According to Kenny, the damage done to his name is not what bothers him the most. He insists that his personal image means little when compared to the damage being done to the larger Biafran movement. He says that every time people within the movement turn on each other, accuse each other of treason or manipulation, it weakens their position and gives more power to those who want to keep Biafra suppressed. He said plainly, "We are fighting our enemies. They are killing us every day." But he followed that statement with something even more important. We don't want to blame the West. We don't want to blame anyone. We take responsibility for what is happening to us. This call for self-reflection within the Biafran movement is one of the most significant parts of his message. In a world where it is easy to point fingers at colonial powers, neighboring countries, or corrupt officials, Kenny turned the mirror inward. He asked the Biafrans listening to him whether they were prepared to protect what they loved. He used the metaphor of a house. If someone breaks into your home and causes destruction while you stand aside, then you have to take responsibility. That, he argued, is the position Biafrans find themselves in today. Kenny also pointed to what he described as spiritual warfare. He was not just talking about physical bullets and bombs. He was referring to the emotional, moral, and spiritual attack on Biafra's soul. According to him, some of the people who have hurt the movement the most are those pretending to be on the same side. He described this betrayal as more painful than any physical wound. It is this kind of betrayal, he said, that causes disillusionment among supporters, especially the youth who often carry the hope of tomorrow. As he spoke, Kenny appeared to be begging, not for forgiveness, but for understanding. He said that people were doubting his ability to manage what he was given, the resources, the responsibility, the trust. He said he was still recovering from the blows of betrayal and character assassination. But despite all this, he remained defiant. He declared that anyone fighting him is not just fighting a man, but fighting Biafra itself. Perhaps the most touching moment came when Kenny said that he speaks for Biafra, even in international spaces, such as in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States of America. His statement reminded listeners that this fight is not only local, it is global. The Biafran struggle is not just taking place in the forests of southeastern Nigeria. It is also unfolding in courtrooms, embassies, online platforms, and in the hearts of Biafrans living abroad who still carry the scars of the Nigerian civil war that took place over 50 years ago. Meanwhile, the video shared from magnetic TV shows raw, disturbing, and emotional footage. It blends dramatic commentary with real-time cries of war. The person filming describes the event like an action movie. But the action here is not entertainment. It is real life. The people fighting, dying, crying, and fleeing are not actors. They are brothers, fathers, and sons of the land. The camera captures voices chanting, praying, and firing weapons. It captures confusion, chaos, and determination all at once. The clip also shows how emotionally invested the people are. For example, when the phrase, "men are good to go," is repeated over and over, it is more than a slogan. It is a promise. It is a commitment to continue the struggle, no matter the cost. These words may seem simple, but in the mouth of a fighter facing death, they become a statement of finality and purpose. Now, who is Igwe Butuzor? His name may not appear on every major news outlet, but within the Biafran circles, he is recognized as a triple commander. That means he oversees multiple battalions or brigades within the Biafran Liberation Army. His forces have been described as disciplined and determined, though critics also accuse them of violent methods that affect civilians. The recent battle in Isseke was reportedly between his group and rival forces aligned with known figures like Mujahid Dokubo Asari and Musa, both of whom have controversial reputations linked to political and militant operations. These rival groups may be loosely affiliated with the Nigerian military, or at least tolerated by them, creating an incredibly complex battlefield. This is not a traditional war between two national armies. This is a multi-layered conflict involving insurgents, counterinsurgents, self-defense forces, federal troops, and sometimes opportunistic local actors. The people trapped in the middle, villagers, farmers, women and children, often pay the highest price. The broader implications of this battle go beyond Isseke. It represents a growing trend in Nigeria's southeast, where various groups no longer believe in negotiation or peaceful dialogue. For them, the time for talking is over. They feel abandoned by the federal government, ignored by the international community, and betrayed by their own elites. What remains is raw anger and a deep sense of injustice. And what about Simon Ekpa, the man Kenny and others refer to as the Prime Minister of Biafra? He is a former athlete and now a self-declared leader of the Biafran government in exile. Operating largely from Finland, he has gained international attention for his controversial broadcasts and hardline position. Supporters view him as a voice of truth, someone who dares to say what others cannot. Critics accuse him of inciting violence and spreading division. Still, his influence is undeniable. Many of those on the ground, including Igwe Butuzor's men and Kenny, claim to be following his directives. This entire episode, this battle, the emotional speeches, the chants, and the bloodshed, adds another chapter to the long and painful history of Biafra. It is a reminder that even though the Nigerian Civil War ended in 1970, the war in the hearts of many Biafrans has never truly ended. The desire for self-determination, for recognition, for justice remains as alive today as it was more than 50 years ago. As the smoke clears from Isseke and people begin to bury the dead and rebuild their homes, the questions remain. How long will this continue? How many more lives must be lost before a lasting solution is found? Can there be peace without justice? And most importantly, can Biafra be realized through bullets and bombs, or must a new path be found? For now, the chants of "men are good to go" continue. And in that chant, whether we agree with the methods or not, there lies a message. It is a message of readiness, of frustration, and of hope. Hope that one day, Biafra will no longer be a dream, but a reality written not in blood, but in peace. As the sun rose over Isseke the morning after the clash, it revealed more than just broken buildings and scattered bullet shells. It revealed a community in mourning, a landscape in chaos, and a people still clinging to something much deeper than politics, a dream that has burned for generations. The confrontation between the Biafran Liberation Army, under the command of Igwe Butuzor, and the forces suspected to be aligned with Nigerian state interests or powerful militant actors like Mujahid Dokubo Asari and a figure known as Musa, was not a spontaneous event. It was the result of years of unresolved tension, distrust, and political marginalization. To truly understand what happened in Isseke and why this clash holds more weight than many others before it, we must explore the origins of the movement, the build-up to this confrontation, and the consequences that now hang over Anambra State and the wider southeastern region of Nigeria. The town of Isseke, located in Ihiala local government area of Anambra State, has long been a relatively quiet place, known more for its agricultural lifestyle and strong cultural roots than for being a battleground. But in recent years, the town and its surrounding villages have increasingly become targets or transit points in the larger conflict engulfing the region. The roads once used for trade and market day gatherings are now patrolled by men in camouflage who answer not to the Nigerian government but to commanders of self-declared liberation forces. In this particular clash, the fighters of the Biafran Liberation Army displayed what many observers described as an aggressive form of military organization. The group is not recognized by any official government, but it is not an entirely random band of individuals. They wear uniforms, operate under a chain of command, and are trained in various tactics, both conventional and guerrilla. The phrase "triple commander" used in reference to Igwe Butuzor is an indication of how structured the movement is attempting to become. He is reportedly in charge of 3 separate operational units or zones, each with its own local commander, but united under a centralized vision of Biafran sovereignty. The Nigerian army and its allies, for their part, view these groups as insurgents and domestic terrorists. From their perspective, groups like the Biafran Liberation Army pose a threat to national unity and must be subdued by force. However, the problem runs deeper than just law enforcement or military suppression. The ideological fire that fuels Biafra's cry for independence was not born out of random rebellion. It comes from a history of marginalization, underdevelopment, and broken promises that stretches back to before Nigeria's independence from British colonial rule in 1960. During the Biafran War between 1967 and 1970, millions of Biafrans, mostly from the Igbo ethnic group, lost their lives to famine, disease, and violence. The memory of that conflict lives on in stories passed down from grandparents to grandchildren. Many young Biafrans today, including fighters like those who participated in the Isseke battle, were not alive during that war. Yet they carry the emotional inheritance of it. They see Biafra not just as a geographical dream, but as a spiritual and ancestral obligation. That spiritual component was very evident in the words of Kenny, the Biafran spokesperson, who gave a passionate and emotionally charged monologue following the battle. His reference to the Lord of the Lord and calls to visit the spiritual world were not merely metaphorical. For many in the movement, the fight for Biafra is not only a political mission, it is a divine one.
No Biafra, no peace. Release the man and the color. Oh. Release the man and the color. Oh. No peace in Nigeria, Zualika country. No Biafra, let Biafra go. No Mr. Monekpa to give us order. We will take order from our Oga, our triple general. Then they give us order. No Mr. Monekpa. No Mr. Monekpa and they give us order. We will take order from our triple G. Huh?
About the videos. Man, I go to go. Who's a man loaded? Who's a man loaded? Owners of the land. Owners of the land. Airborne. Airborne. Anya. We are good to go. Come on, sir.
This is the happen life and direct numbers right now.
Oh no, oh no, oh no.
Lani hamena la bani ndami sendre bombo le ko bin na wa shede le pa no de laka ndami ebugo nko do wure jebe ulo ogwu lani ihe ndami mere na anyi o le mela mbosi la agwo na ga mbosi life and direct o ebe o le eme lani hele mela bani o lani hele mela bani ndami sendre la bombo we bia buo o ma na apọ instantly nke ọzọ ebiri ojabo ụlọ ọgwụ nke mere ya ema na ahịa azụ baba anyị o na ahịa azụ baba anyị efe enye egbuola ha n'obodo a egbuola ha anyị o
Mpamonsa. Mpanya abụ tata bụ Mee 2025 ndị ara bịara n'Isseke. Ya bụ ya mere ha. Azụ tupu ọsọ agụ ji egbe. Ya bụ ife mere ha. Ama na men nọ. Men are good to go. Tana ihe ogbu n'igwe mere ha arụ. O tiri ha mmọnwụ. Mpanagodi shu. Ihe a shu ha yi n'ụkwụ dị sinye. Shu. Ihe ogbu n'igwe gbara ya, ogbu n'igwe bakasịrị ya abakasị. Mpana men are good to go. Ihe a shu dị ya mpa. Ihe a boot. Boot dị ya. E tiri ya mmọnwụ. Esi peripe shu ha mpana ebe etu ha. Na shu ha, na se shu ha. Na shu ha dị sinye mpa. Obuni gwetiri amọ mpa nke ebe otu ha be ịnwa aka mpa nke bụ ọbara nke bụ ọbara mpa nke bụ ọbara mee na agụ to go etiri ha mmọnwụ asịrị nga wee kpụrụ ya mpa nke bụ anụ ahụ a dị ya anụ ahụ a etiri ha mmọnwụ eri na abụ ọbara nga etiri ha mmọnwụ mgbe ọbara ya fe enye mpara ome na good to go ha sị na ọ dị eme onye nri na-abụ ọbara nke enye but na-esi shu ogbunigwe mgbọ kesịrị shu agba kesịrị n'egodi ya ọ mere ya ha sa me na good to go men are good to go. Over how the Janine. Apa? Obrigado, Docasseria, Docassin. Oh, my question. And I said, about 20 hours. And say, Apa, and Sapa, you will go and Docasseria, Docassin. That's the onion. On a good year. Ini na-abụ ọbara. Ini na-abụ ọbara. Ọbara juru ina. Efe anya. Guys talking sir. O tiri ha mmọnwụ. Men are good to go. So ma kpochiri so ma aja. With aja red. Esi ya ini na-abụ ọbara. 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 I got to buy videos. Men are good to go. Who's loaded? Who's loaded? Honors of the Lord! Honors of the Lord!
This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.